Hi again, I'm Chris Hadley with Snobby Robot, and this is another crew conversation with the production crew of Producing Juliet. And with me today is the woman who brought it all to life, Tina Cesa Ward, the creator, the writer, the executive producer, and the director of Producing Juliet. And of course, you know her for her work from working on anyone but me, and her most recent series was before Producing Juliet, Good People in Love. Tina, welcome.
Thanks for doing this, Chris.
I really thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. Now, how was Producing Juliet developed? Like, what or who inspired you to create the show, besides, of course, your experiences in the theater?
Well, it was interesting at the time. I had been working on Anyone But Me for those 5+ years, and I directed a little bit for the theater. I didn't, again, wanted to be a film director, but when I came to New York, I also, I take my directing job very seriously. So I decided kind of the best way for me to learn how to really work with actors one-on-one would be to go into the theater. It also helped learning blocking as well. So when I came to New York, it's not exactly cheap to make films or any of that, but I was able to kind of break in to do more theater. So I really started to push and go into theater. I didn't do a huge amount of productions, but enough that I enjoyed it and I learned a lot. And so I hadn't directed anything, gosh, I don't know. I have to look at one of my posters. When the last time I did, I think it was 2005. Yeah, it's been a really long time. And at the end of Anyone But Me and before Producing Juliet, I was really thinking about going back and directing a play. But I just was kind of like, well, I should really just keep going on the web. And to direct a play would have been awesome, but I also feel like, it's just, there's something about when you there's so much theater in New York, and to try to get an audience, you end up getting an audience, and it's just most of the people you know and friends and maybe some strangers. You get excited when they're strangers, and I just thought, wow, that's a lot of work just to get maybe 100 people to watch your play, when, now I was coming from the numbers of Anyone But Me, which is like 40 million people have watched the show. So it was kind of hard to make that concession. So I just decided to kind of put it into this new story that I had thought of, and then hopefully the play that Rebecca is producing for Juliet's sophomore play, hopefully at the end of the second season we could actually stage that production. Yeah. So it's kind of, the hope is to be able to do, you'll actually get to see the play that's actually produced in the show, but on stage, and I'll use the Producing Juliet actors as well. So it was kind of always my plan to be able to actually go and direct some theater, but in this kind of roundabout way. It kind of, in some ways, series and stories and stuff always have little bits and pieces from everything. I can never just say it was just this one thing that pulled it together, because there's just so many different themes and stuff in all the stories. So, but that was certainly one of them. My head was kind of in wanting to do a direct play, and it just kind of happened that just pushed it, Producing Juliet.
Yeah. What do you hope to accomplish with Producing Juliet in terms of bringing viewers great drama and everything?
Well, what do I hope to accomplish? Well, I mean, I want them to connect to the story, and I also I feel like sometimes there's a bit of a lacking in drama that has gay lesbian characters and also straight characters or whatever, that for a show that can be looked at as more of a mainstream show. I've always, and it was the same with Anyone But Me, we always felt it was more a show for everybody. It wasn't just a niche lesbian show at all. Definitely there's that core, and we appreciate them, and we know that they're there, and we'll protect that. But I do think there's an unfortunate kind of segregation in a weird way of gay and lesbian program with the mainstream program, and so I've always wanted to do a show that just had gay characters in it, and everybody could relate to it. And so I really hope that that everybody from all walks of life connect with the show, and it's not just looked at as a show with gay and lesbian characters. It's just looked at as a show with people going through things, and like we all do, and so it's always kind of my goal to break out of that labeled lesbian show, because I've never really felt I've ever made that very niche-y type of show. I've always just made a show with people I relate to and people I hope everybody else relates to.
And those are your hopes also for the overall success of the show itself?
Yeah, I mean, you just, I think always the success of, and success is however you measure it when it comes to the web, because there's not, since money isn't really something in play, so you really have to kind of look at, like, what is success to you? And I've always found that with web series in particular, if you get to multiple seasons, you have a better chance of being seen and being successful. So for me, it's like if we can get to another season, then to me it's a success. Not that it isn't now. I mean, I'm very proud of it, and I feel great about what it's accomplished so far. But I feel like if you can get over that hump of the first season and find a way to make another season, you get to the second season or the third season, I think that's a huge accomplishment on the web, because we all know we don't, it's hard to find money to make them. So it's a huge accomplishment if you can get past that initial first season. So to me, that will definitely be a big deal for me. But kind of the success of it is, for me, how I feel about it and how my producers and crew and cast and everybody feels about it. If they feel good about what they've done because they've given up, their free time essentially, or for very little money, then that's a success to me. So, and that the fans get amazing too. So I'm good.
What films, TV shows, or web series would you compare Producing Juliet to, and what, if anything, sets Producing Juliet apart from those?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I would hate to compare it to anything, man. I often can never find things to compare my work to. If I could, then it would make pitching so much easier. But I can never really find it. I could tell you that the shows that kind of inspired it in this weird way is Downton Abbey, which I'm a huge fan of, and I love language. So part of me kind of developing the language of Producing Juliet, in particular Juliet and other stuff, was somewhat encouraged by Downton Abbey, because I just love language. I love to, I have no use for language of, hey, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm fine. It doesn't, oftentimes I read from, some people that are like, this is how you write or whatever, to say, hey, when you're saying it aloud, if it doesn't sound like people in the street would say it, then it's not right. And I'm just like, I don't care. I can listen to what people are saying on the street every day. I want to hear something new. I want to hear something insightful, and and it's like Aaron Sorkin. He has his own language, and I enjoy that definitely about him. But so I will say Downton had a bit of an influence on it, and I also really loved Slings and Arrows, which was that Canadian.
I mentioned that in my initial story.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I mean, this is not at all like Slings and Arrows, but I really enjoyed that show, and it got me thinking that, maybe you can do a show that's set in the theater world. And the reason, part of the reasons why I did do it set in the theater world is because I have some knowledge of it, but I don't have complete knowledge of it. I don't really want to do shows where it's about a web series writer director, because I have no interest in doing that. But I like exploring worlds that I have to either research, or have a little bit of knowledge of, but so that it's exciting for me to explore it as well. I don't really want to explore something I already know about. So yeah, and I don't really know what I would say Producing Juliet is compared to. Yeah, other than those kind of mentions, I would hope that people that watched dramas like Downton or whatever would like the show, and so that would be my hope.
And finally, what's the biggest message you hope to send through Producing Juliet? What's the biggest takeaway for viewers? How would you describe the theme of the show?
Well, I think for me, I've always felt like, and it's a big part of Producing Juliet, that art can really change your thinking and really help you when you're like struggling. So with Rebecca, it's really all about her just getting thrown into this art theater world or what have you, and finding out that a fictional story can really change your life and really give you a different perspective on the world, and I just think art can do that for you. And I think fictional stories in particular, I mean, we've all had the story that we've read, or seen or whatever that changed us, and I wanted to infuse that into Rebecca, where she read Juliet's new play, When I Imagined You With Me, and something went off in her that this is now going to be her focus, because she connected so strongly with that play, and it changed her, and that's kind of what I'm going for.
Tina, I just want to say thank you so much for taking part in this conversation and for asking me to conduct all these great conversations with you, Rochelle, Rob, Allison. It's really been an honor.
Well, it's been great, Chris. I really appreciate you doing this. It was
thank you so much.
Been fun.
My guest has been Tina Cesa Ward, the creator, executive producer, writer, and director of Producing Juliet. This is Chris Hadley. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night.